Hi, our group name is Central 2, and the members of our group include myself, Darian Lopez,
Gabriela Griego,
Samantha Rudra,
Shelby Yukich,
and Emily Frommel.
For our project, we had to monitor our daily steps and implement a prize-based contingency to increase those daily steps. The study that was replicated for the purpose of this project was the preliminary efficacy of prize-based contingency management to increase activity levels in healthy adults by Washington, Bana, and Gibson, 2014. The study had a total of 11 adults in college who wore a Fitbit accelerometer for a 3-week period using an ABA design. During baseline and intervention phases, participants were required to make lab visits on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Participants attended these lab visits to verify that they were wearing their Fitbit, charging the device, uploading their data, and to draw a prize. Prize draws were awarded for wearing the device during the baseline phases. During the intervention phase, a step criterion was calculated for each participant that had to meet to receive the access to the prize. The daily step count was texted or emailed to the researchers at the end of each day throughout this 3-week period. The results of the study indicated that an increased daily step count occurred during the intervention period. Steps increased an average of 23% from the baseline 1 phase to the intervention phase.
Through the literature review, it was found that utilizing behavior change strategies to increase physical activity was proven to be successful. The University of Missouri researchers found that adults who received interventions that focused on behavior change strategies were able to significantly increase their physical activity. They concluded that individuals cannot motivate themselves to work out by just thinking about it, but by actually implementing strategies to change their behavior. Pedometers have also shown to increase physical activity in individuals. Harris et al. Found that pedometers increase an individual's average amount of steps by 2,491. Tudor and Locke also found that pedometers aid in self-monitoring and individualized goal setting. In a study conducted by Curdy and Dallery, the use of pedometers to track steps taken, along with contingency management, resulted in an increase in physical activity. They outlined the 3 basic requirements of contingency management as the target behavior is readily detected, reinforcement is provided contingent on demonstrating the target behavior, and reinforcement is withheld contingent on not demonstrating the target behavior. Ball et al. Also found that the use of a contingency management increased physical activity in adults and reduced the amount of time that they were sitting.
The purpose of the project was to replicate and confirm the results found in our selected study conducted by Washington et al. 2014. Each member of the group used an accelerometer, either an Fitbit or an Apple Watch, and recorded their daily steps throughout this 3-week period. Using an ABA design, the first week was the baseline, the second week was the intervention phase, and the third week was the final baseline phase. During the intervention period, each group member was able to electronically choose a prize written on a shared Google Doc.
All of the participants in this study were enrolled in the course SPCE 611 Advanced Applied Behavior Analysis. The participants were females between the ages of 24 to 28 years old. Each participant wore a pedometer during all waking hours of the day. The purpose of this study was for all subjects to increase their steps. Each participant wore either an iWatch or a Fitbit throughout the whole day to track their steps and activity. The settings that were involved in this study included work, home, stores, gym, and anywhere else the participants went while wearing the pedometer. Along with the pedometer, the materials in the study also included prizes that the participant would earn if they increased their steps from the previous day. The prizes included activities that were reinforcing for the participant, such as an hour of Netflix, a sweet treat, skipping homework for the night, a date night, 1 hour of social media, dinner at your favorite restaurant, or a spa day. These prizes were decided among the group before starting the first baseline phase of the study. To imitate the original study's prize draw, the prize list was entered into a random list generator to give an individual number to each prize each time a participant earned a raffle ticket. They used a random result generator that provided them with a raffle number that correlated to their individual prize.
Daily steps were collected at the end of each day. We defined our behavior as a step, which was also defined as putting one foot in front of the other in an effort to move. An example of taking a step is taking a step forward or backwards with the intent of moving to a destination. A non-example for taking a step is taking steps in place with no intent to move to a destination.
Steps were tracked on a pedometer, which was either an iWatch or a Fitbit. Each participant recorded their steps on a shared Excel sheet that the entire group had access to. The steps that were recorded on the Excel sheet were then placed on an ABA design which displayed each participant's activity. The first phase was baseline, then the second phase was a treatment phase, then the last phase was a return to baseline. Each participant switched to the next phase based on if their steps were at a stable rate. For each participant, each phase differed on the number of data points. Some participants switched between phases quicker than others and also had longer baseline and treatment phases.
For the baseline data, all the participants were asked to wear their Fitbit or Apple Watch for 6 to 8 days. The participants were awarded a raffle ticket as long as they were wearing their pedometer. So the purpose of the raffle ticket was for the participant to choose the prize for that day. The participants shared their data on the Excel sheet as previously mentioned, and based on whether they had a step count or not, they were awarded that raffle ticket.
In order for participants to earn a raffle ticket during treatment, they had to walk more steps than the 5th highest day within the last 7 days. Their step counts were still recorded on the Excel sheet, and the prizes still included 50% verbal praise and 50% material items.
Now I'm going to talk about the IOA, Inter-Observer Agreement data, and treatment integrity. So a good study shows proof of fidelity, showing that all the participants actually participated in the study the way it was supposed to be done. So some ways that we proved fidelity was, again, to record our daily steps on a shared spreadsheet that we could all access. We also shared screenshots of our daily step counts, and there's a photo of that on the right. This proved that the participant actually took that exact amount of steps, and they weren't just making numbers up and putting them on the spreadsheet. And then we also had weekly meetings to share our progress and to discuss prizes. This study was a single subject research design, so there was no IOA data because each individual collected their own data and inputted it on the data sheet themselves. However, as a group, we did review the step data to determine the prizes. So some just overall group results before I begin my individual results. Overall, the participants had increased daily step counts. However, participants were more motivated to increase their daily step count due to wearing the accelerometer than they were to earn daily prizes. The group average during the initial baseline was 7,346 steps per day. This is lower than the CDC recommended amount of 10,000 steps per day. The baseline range of data was between 2,236 steps and 13,788 steps. However, daily steps increased by 1,619 steps during the treatment phase. The range of data in the treatment phase was 1,049 steps to 18,516 steps. The average steps taken during the return to baseline was 7,179 daily steps, and the range was 2,901 to 11,481. So now I'm going to go ahead and talk about my data, and my graph is shown here. This was my first time wearing a pedometer, so just wearing the device really motivated me to increase my daily step count. My average daily steps during the initial baseline phase was 12,567 steps. I did have some unstable data due to the fact that I wait just a few days a week, and on these days I did seem to have a higher daily step count, so this might skew my data a little bit. But overall, I increased my step count significantly during the treatment phase, and I did this by taking daily walks or runs. My average daily steps during this phase was 17,300 steps. I earned a prize every day except for October 6th. I only had 12,204 steps on that day. This did not qualify me to earn a prize since I had such high step counts earlier in the treatment phase. During the return to baseline, I did not walk or run every day. This did take me down to an average of 10,367 daily steps. My data range across the entire study was 7,947 steps to 20,228 steps. And my average amount of steps across the entire study was 13,190 steps.
Sorry guys, my results are here shown, and my initial average step count during baseline was 4,182. During the treatment phase, my average number of steps taken was 6,303. And as for my return to baseline, the average steps that I took were 4,027. I was able to earn prizes every day except on October 6th and the 7th. I have to say that this was a bit difficult just because most of my day consists of sitting down, but because I was wearing the pedometer, I was encouraged to get moving even during the times that I was at work. My average increased during the intervention phase because I wanted to improve my daily step count. And due to this fact, I was more motivated to wear the pedometer.
My results are shown in the graph currently displayed. I used the Fitbit Charge 2 to collect my steps. Variable data was demonstrated during both of my baseline periods, but stable levels were achieved during my intervention phase. My average number of steps taken during the initial baseline phase was 8,130. During the intervention period, my average number of steps increased to 8,239. My average number of daily steps then decreased to 6,760 during the baseline 2 phase. I was able to achieve the prizes except on the days of October 4th and October 10th. I work at a school and get most of my daily steps from recess duty and also outdoor activities, including like running or walking my dog. And it should be noted that during the intervention period, the local weather experienced intense rain, and that did affect my ability to attain steps on those days. Recess duties were canceled, and I opted out of going outside for that extra run or walk time, and that did affect my data.
During the first baseline phase, my average daily steps was 5,280. Then during the treatment phase, my average steps increased to 5,822 once I began to go back to the gym and run. Then once I returned back to baseline, my average daily steps continued to increase to 9,239. The increase during baseline was due to the fact that I continued to stay active and go to the gym during this time. I also noticed, like Gabby had mentioned earlier, I have a job. I work at a clinic where I work one-to-one with clients, and most of our time is spent sitting at the table doing work, unless they earn their tokens to go play for reinforcement. So I would notice that I didn't have very many steps, which would also motivate me when I wasn't working with the client at that time to get up and walk around more. I earned prizes each day during treatment, besides October 4th and 7th.
These are my results from the study. I wear my Apple Watch every day, and I never really paid attention to my step counts until this was conducted, and that made me more motivated to increase my step count. But during baseline, my average number of steps taken was 6,571. During treatment, I increased my step count, not by much, but it ended up being 7,165 because I focused more on increasing it. And when I returned to baseline, my step count decreased back to 5,502. Like Samantha and Gabriella said, my job consists of a lot of sitting. It kind of depends on which client I'm working with during the day. Some of them like to do puzzles during reinforcements, and some of them like to run around. So that played a really big part in my total step count during the week. I earned prizes every day besides October 4th and 5th.
Our group came to some conclusions after looking at all of our data, and we all agree that wearing the pedometer was a lot more motivation to increase our step count than the daily prizes that we earned. Just knowing throughout the day how many steps we had gotten, and some of our devices too would alert us hourly if we hadn't met our goal for that hour, was very motivating to get up and move around. Even just take a walk down to the printer at school, or take a walk to the office at our clinics. It is difficult to increase steps in already active young adults, and this was mentioned in the study that we replicated, because the study we replicated also included all participants that were young and already currently active. We also think that we would have gotten better results had we met in person like the original study. I think we would have been held more accountable that way, and there would have been less of a chance for people to, skew their data. According to Tudor, Locke, and Lutz from 2009, it stated that people are more accountable and more motivated to work out when they are calculating what physical activity they are doing, and especially when they are sharing that data with others. This was shown in our group average increase of 1,619 daily steps during our treatment phase. And that was just an average amount of steps that we increased. Therefore, some days we did increase by more than that, which is awesome. There were some limitations to this study. Of course, first and foremost, everything had to be done remotely. We all live in different areas of the Midwest, so we had to have electronic prize options, and then we really were limited to having prizes that were not expensive. We are all broke college students, so all the prizes really needed to be free, or as close as possible to being free, to work for us. Another limitation would be that there were really short phase durations. The phases were only about a week long each, give or take, depending on our data. And definitely, I think that longer durations would have produced more stable data. Another limitation was that there was no verification of who was actually wearing the pedometer for the study. So technically, members of our group could have had a family member or a friend wear the pedometer and get those steps, and they could have used that data rather than actually wearing the pedometer and getting them themselves. So we did have to have some trust within our group. Another limitation would be that there were a limited amount of participants in the study. There were only 5 of us. Like I mentioned earlier too, the value of the prizes was not as strong as it could have been had we had unlimited, money resources to create really expensive prizes. I think then we might have been more motivated to really increase our step counts even more. And then another limitation would be the proof that we actually received the prize that we won on the prize draw. So maybe we won an hour of Netflix, but maybe that night we had a couple hours of homework to get done, so we didn't take the time out of our day to earn our prize and watch Netflix. So, and that would affect our motivation to increase our step counts as well. Another thing to keep in mind would be the weather, our local weather. And the interesting thing about the weather is too, since we all live in different areas, our weather was different in our different areas. So Darian had mentioned like a lot of rainy days, but maybe, I didn't get a lot of rainy weather those weeks that we did the study. So then I might have gotten more steps because I had sunny days, and she might have gotten less. And then if you're comparing our data, it would have really conflicted. So not only, affecting the data, but it also would limit the ability for the members in the group to get out and be active, depending on whether or not they have access to a treadmill or a fitness center, or if we were just getting our steps mostly being outside, like her example, where she got a lot of her steps at recess at a school. But like any study, even though there are limitations, we all really enjoyed participating in this study, and we all definitely agree that it was interesting how all of us were able to improve our step counts and be motivated just by wearing the pedometer and kind of knowing what we were doing each day. Thank you so much for listening to our project.